All right, so here we are talking cardio, and we're gonna address a couple different areas of this. Cardio, call it body weight, or as you said, simple machines.
Simple machines that you might see in a fitness center or a gym that may seem daunting as a disabled athlete.
And that, but at the beginning, we're talking about
I'm just going to talk about what you can do with body weight and machinery geared towards adaptive athletes.
There we go.
So-
And then the second half of this little segment that we're going to do is going to talk about more scary machines in the gym that are like, I don't know, how do I do that? How do I do that? And how do I modify it for me if I have to modify? Okay, so we got the two-parter basically. We'll go through it quick, but hit us with that first part. Talk to us about body weight stuff.
Well, a lot of this, I'm going to bring up what I have been able to accomplish is a hip disarticulation. Of course, all disabled athletes were all different. But just, I wanted to let you know my experiences, what I've been able to accomplish, what I've been able to do. The first part is probably going to pertain to anybody with a disability, any cardiovascular. Of course, there's walking. Even me with a hip disarticulation, I can put my prosthesis on and walk on a treadmill safely and slowly, but even someone with an above or below knee amputation can still walk on a treadmill or walk outside, even just walking with your crutches. Anybody that uses crutches knows how much of a cardiovascular workout that is. We have to walk harder than our able-bodied brethren. So we're getting a cardiovascular workout when we walk with our crutches even. If you are wheelchair bound, your wheelchair itself is a good cardiovascular machine. Find someplace safe, paths, paved paths, things like that, driveways where you're safe. That's cardiovascular. Of course, then we start getting into the machines that are built specifically for adaptive athletes. I have a hand cycle bike. There are many variations on hand cycle bikes. Mine happens to be a recumbent, and I'm still adapting to it with a single leg. Turning to my left is easy, turning to the right, not so much. And of course, always be safe. You know, if you're out on the road and your hand cycle bike, keep your helmet on, wear some type of notification, flags, lights, something, especially in a recumbent where we're down low. A lot of drivers aren't going to see us. Sports wheelchairs. Of course, your sports wheelchair, that we're going to use in multiple different sports, wheelchair lacrosse, wheelchair softball, basketball, tennis, etc. It's called sport wheelchair for a reason. You can go out and train in it. And if you're doing it right, you would be training in that sports wheelchair for your sport. Lacrosse, we have a lot of sprints. So between practices, between tournaments, get out there on whatever surface you're playing on and do your sprints. Get your cardiovascular in that sports wheelchair. Of course, you have the racing wheelchair. Now all of a sudden, that's our component, our running component. I have a racing wheelchair, and between that and my swimming and the hand cycle bike, I look at it as that's my triathlon training. But a sports wheelchair now, and of course there are many variations on that as well. That's your running, or our running, I should say. Again, if you're out on the road, be safe. Wear your helmet, use flags, use lights. A lot of drivers are not looking for adaptive athletes out there. Swimming. The old adage, if you can float, you can swim. Swimming, of course, don't forget, it's year-round. If you have access to an indoor pool, they're heated. That feels good. Now with the summer weather, even here in Michigan, I've started getting back into the lake and swimming. I am actually training for a lake swim. A while back through the VA, I was able to get some pool therapy. I'd always been a bit of a swimmer, never competitively, but I knew the basic strokes and I could, tread water, etc. But pool therapy made me realize that I can actually swim with one leg. Now I do cheat, and I use a little respiratory. I use a recreational therapy flipper, which is a very short fin, which helps me. Now, I don't want this to sound bragging, but I have been able to swim up to 1.5 miles, both in a pool and a lake. And a little over 2 years ago, I was happy to do 2 lengths of a pool, and that was a therapy pool. So it was 18 yards. I was happy to do 75 yards, and now I'm doing 2,500. But then again, once I realized that I could swim, do it slowly, but I found that I wanted to compete against myself. So now there's a lake swim here in my hometown that's coming up in a little over a month, which is a little over 1 mile, and I'll be able to do that. And they're going to let me use my, my cheat flipper. But there are other lake swims out there, and most of them are going to work with an adaptive athlete. So if you enjoy swimming, just go out and do it for cardiovascular. If you really enjoy swimming and you enjoy competition against yourself, look for a lake swim or a pool swim. Same thing with triathlons. There are para-triathlons that are geared towards adaptive athletes, but almost any triathlon will also be able to accommodate adaptive athletes, just like 10Ks, half marathons, marathons have a wheelchair division. So we've got a hand cycle bike or other bicycle. Swimming, we already know we can do. And then with a racing wheelchair, now we got the running component. So I have yet to do a marathon. I wanted to do one as an able-bodied. Now one of my goals is to do a marathon in the racing wheelchair, but also the triathlons. Now, there are other variations on doing body weight cardio. Don't forget calisthenics. You can adapt calisthenics to a disabled individual. I'm not going to be doing jumping jacks anytime soon, but I can still do what we used to refer to as up downs. Troy in his fitness class calls them burpees, but it's where you kind of squat down, kick your leg or legs out, hop up, jump up, so up downs. He has another one called a mountain climber, which is kind of a wrestling move. We used to call them kickouts, that you're on your hands and your feet or foot, and you kick your leg up, one leg to this side or to the other side if you have it. So you can do calisthenics, which is another way to get your cardio. Now, I'm sure there are other variations of body weight or, low maintenance cardio that I haven't even thought of. But whatever works for you, go out and do it. I found that I enjoy a lot of them. So I like to cross train, but I also have goals that I want to accomplish. So I train for those.
So what I hear there is you're telling everybody who's watching, if you've got another one that we haven't mentioned or you haven't mentioned, they should put that in the comments.
Please.
For us. Absolutely.
Might be something I want to try.
Exactly, because we're always looking for extra this, extra that. And I want to scale back before we move on to the next segment and say that, as I was always taught, it's not bragging if it's true. So
good point.
And if you think about it, how many able-bodied people can swim that far? Yeah. Almost zero. The percentage is so small.
Before I lost my leg, I never thought I would swim a mile. I never thought I'd swim 500 yards.
A mile in the pool or in a lake is even worse. Is crazy hard. So the fact that you're doing what you're doing, regardless of your specific situation. Now, think about it. It's true though, right? And you guys out there, you're like, a mile? How far? What? And then, especially when you add the lake in with the waves and things,
The hardest thing I found with swimming, that when I was able-bodied and I would run, first of all, you can change the scenery. You can run on the road, you can run on the trail, you can run in this block and that neighborhood, and you can listen to music. When you're swimming, the scenery never changes.
Never changes.
Especially in a pool. You're down and back and down and back. And even if they're playing music, you can't hear it. So you gotta find a way to keep your brain going. And that's why I knew swimmers were crazy to begin with. The competitive ones that are swimming, twice a day for months and thousands of yards. Now that I've discovered, oh my God, you can do this. And Troy's right, out in the lake, I got to keep looking up because there aren't any lane markers. So I'm drifting. I don't want to go out there where the boats are, and I don't want to run into where the docks are. but you adapt.
I'm going to ask this question. If people, not of you, but of the people watching, if you could give any of us, all of us, everybody on this page, an idea of what you do to keep yourself focused in that, because that's right, you get into any endurance event, whatever it is, even if you're bike riding, you got to be a little more aware than if you're in a pool, but it doesn't matter what you're doing. You got to figure out something mentally to do. And what are your tips out there? A lot of people do music.
Well, for me, I still remember reading that Michael Phelps, one of the greatest Olympic swimmers of all time, he said that swimming allowed him to focus, and that was one of the best treatments for his ADHD. Maybe that's why I enjoy swimming. Maybe it helps me. For me, it's strange, but I get into math calculations. I know it's weird,
funny.
but I start calculating what percentage I've done. How many more laps do I have to do to get my mile? First of all, I got to keep remembering to count the laps. But I count strokes because I was taught by another swimmer that you can tell your distance by the number of strokes you take. So that's how I've been able to figure out my lap swims in the lake. I'll go down about 110 strokes, so it's about 110 yards. So I know down and back is 220, so 8 of those is a mile. So my brain goes to math. I'm sure there are other people that are going to be singing in their head.
All right, so I'm cracking up over here because the funniest part about that is I didn't know that. Okay, so viewers, I did not know that he was doing math. And I was going to say, well, we know for you, Kyle, it's probably you're doing math. I literally was going to say that
it is.
Before you said it, and I did not know that you were doing that. So there you go.
Well, when you're in the lake, you're also trying to focus on, because I have endpoints. There aren't lane markers. So I use, in the lake, I use one dock, and then there's a tree on a piece of land jutting out, which is 110 yards away. And when you're wearing your goggles and you're not trying to waste a lot of time in between your turns, you're trying to focus on that endpoint, but you have to keep looking up, especially if the lake's a little murky. But here in Michigan, we're dealing with 90-degree weather and 70% humidity, so getting in the lake in the morning really feels good. Getting out, not so much, because then you got to climb the steps up the hill to get out. But I really enjoy swimming, especially on a nice day, and the pool feels great too.
So for any of you viewers out there who are way smarter than me, and you got another idea in addition to math calculations, I would love to see some funny, not funny, because they work for people.
Yeah, definitely.
But because I'm so far outside of that, I don't think that way, that I would not be doing math in the pool. I'm just telling you, that's not me.
And I don't know enough about, iPods and things like that. There might be some that are water safe, so maybe you can swim with music.
Yeah, tell us if there is, because I don't know
Which
that.
would
so if
be
anybody
really
out
cool.
there knows, let us know, because I thought there's probably got to be, in today's world, there's got to be waterproof ones.
Yeah, waterproof ones.
Do I want electricity and
well, but the iPods, but you just got to remember to bring your music in and listen to it. But I'm still old school. I used to, when I would run, I used to have the Walkman. And I put the cassette tape in for Pete's sake.
Cassette tape.
Oh, God, see, that's going old school.
Oh, let's talk more about that later.
Because you don't want to hear me sing when I'm running. Definitely don't want to hear me sing.
It's a good thing he's running away from us.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna try singing when I'm swimming. I just want to be able to breathe.
All right, so we do have to move on. Yeah. We could talk about that for all day, but tell us more about some of these machines, crazy machines.
Well, of course, almost any machine that in a gym that's built for an able body, we can, as disabled individuals, can adapt to it. Whether you have a congenital disease, one you're born with, or one that you've acquired, we deal with adaptations all the time in our own lives. I've been able to get on a stationary bike and ride, not for very long, but I can ride with one leg. Of course, I got to strap it on pretty good because I don't have the second leg to push down. So you can do a stationary bike. With my prosthesis, I can walk on a treadmill. Slowly and safely, but I can walk on a treadmill. Even machines like what I would call a seated stepper machine, like a new step. Pretty easy to do as an amputee. You sit down, one leg's going, you got the arms going. I forget the name of it, but I call it a seated elliptical machine. So you got both arms going, and then you got, well, both legs or one leg, but it's going in an elliptical motion. And the really great thing about that is you can reverse it also, just like you can reverse a standing elliptical machine, which in a prior video I showed that you can do a standing elliptical machine, even as an amputee. Prior video I showed how I could do an air-dying stationary bike. Of course, you got the arms moving, so that helps as an amputee. If you're wheelchair bound, yeah, there are some adaptations you can do to even use those machines. But if you can get up onto the seat of a new step, you're still doing some cardiovascular with your upper arms. I do a lot of my workouts out at the local VA hospital. They have a really great fitness center out there. One of the machines is a stationary cross-country ski machine. And I initially tried that by standing on my one leg, and I realized this isn't the smartest thing I've ever done. And I was doing that as training for sled hockey, because in sled hockey it's a lot of this. So then I adapted and put a bench there and sat down in a position similar to I would be in a sled hockey, and then I was doing basically a ski machine motion that I would do for sled hockey. And then I would adapt it, not just both arms, but one arm at a time or alternating. So you can adapt machines for yourself, whether it's congenital, whether you have muscular dystrophy, cystic fibrosis, whatever. You've lived your entire life adapting to the able-bodied world. Don't let any machine in a gym or fitness center scare you. Talk to the trainers. They'll help you. Take a look at it. Figure out how you can make it work for you. Be safe, but don't hesitate to use the trainers, especially knowledgeable trainers like Troy. Don't forget that even like the cable cross machine can be done for cardio. I'll do a lot of shoulder work on the cable cross machine. Again, sports specific for a sports wheelchair. Of course, I'm working shoulders a lot because I walk with crutches and we're always using our upper body to walk with. So I'll do a lot of shoulder work, but then on the cable cross, you can mimic a sports wheelchair. So you can get going like that and get a cardio workout, whether it's distance or sprint, on a cable cross machine.
And a person who doesn't have access to a cable machine could easily adapt that, regardless of your situation, with tubing. Right?
Oh, definitely.
Exercise bands.
Yeah, definitely.
Exercise tubing.
Yeah.
So all of those can be done for very inexpensive.
Yeah.
Tubes aren't that expensive. They're easily accessible almost anywhere. There might even be an affiliate link for us in the comment section or the whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not the thing. But you could get tubing and you can adapt that very easily and simulate a cable machine. So
now, earlier in the first part of this, I talked about the different equipment I have, the hand cycle bike and the sports wheelchair, as well as the racing wheelchair. The latter two I was able to borrow from Mary Freebed, which is a great company here in Michigan that's very big into, first of all, working with adaptive sports, but also very good with the injuries that lead to disabilities or the congenital. So it's a great hospital, but they're really great in sports. So I've been able to borrow equipment from them. You may have something like that where you are. Look into it. Talk to your physical medicine rehab doc. Talk to your prosthetist or orthotist. They may know somebody. I was also able to get my hand cycle bike through the VA. And I'm working to get a racing wheelchair through them. But do not forget that there are an awful lot of companies out there or organizations that have grants or funding for adaptive sports equipment.
And the good news is we have a video on that, which is somewhere on the channel, and we'll try to link it here, about the different organizations and those things that we don't want them to forget about.
Right,
so
definitely.
That whole video.
Definitely. It's absolutely amazing. And you may be overwhelmed with what's out there. Well, Google it. Talk to your physical medicine rehab doc, your primary doc,
or shoot us a
definitely.
message.
Yeah, you know, I've dealt with a couple of them. I get a lot of links from the rec therapist from Mary Freebed, so I can share those. You may know some that we don't. Share them. You know, this is a chance for the adaptive athlete, the disabled individuals that want to be adaptive athletes, for us to share knowledge and to get smarter about what's out there for us. I've been a physician assistant for over 20 years, and I did not realize what was out there for my patients that were disabled until I became disabled. And it's a shame that I didn't know that. That so many folks will consider themselves homebound because they are disabled. It doesn't have to be that way. I don't care what your age is, I don't care what your disability is, there are ways to get moving and to get outside and to enjoy life. I mean, they even have wheelchairs now with big fat tires they can use down the beach.
Oh, nice. I see, and
Yeah,
I'm unaware of that.
Give me a break.
That's
You know, you
awesome.
can do off-road on a hand cycle bike. You can do trails. And what's out there, I'm astounded, I'm amazed almost every day what I learn from my adaptive sports teammates, what I run across, what I search, what is out there for a disabled athlete. It's
And
amazing.
that's what we're trying to do on this channel is educate. We don't know it all. I didn't realize about the fat tire wheelchairs. That's awesome. And we don't know anything, but we know a lot. And so there's other people out there that know a lot more about things that we don't know, and we know things that they don't know. And if we can all come together and share,
Yeah, definitely.
we're going to be better off.
And I speak primarily as, a disabled individual with a hip disarticulation. I've been told that's the 1%, not the 1% I wanted to be in, but I have also learned from my teammates with the adaptive sports what they have been able to accomplish. These are things they were born with, so they've been dealing with it for 30 years. They've been an adaptive athlete for 20 of those. Continues to amaze me. They teach me every time I talk to them. If I have a question, I ask them. My prosthetist, rec therapists, they know things that I would have never thought of. And we need to share that knowledge. And I'm also only speaking from my exposure here in the state of Michigan. I know a little bit about what's going on in the country, the US. I have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world. Admittedly, what's available around the world may not be what we have here in the States, but how do athletes in another country adapt to be an athlete? I've seen guys playing soccer on crutches. You gotta be kidding me. First of all, I couldn't play as an able body, but to be able to do it on crutches fascinates me. So, excuse me, I shouldn't call it soccer, that's the American.
That's right.
But playing football.
Football.
I mean, come on.
Football.
They even have wheelchair football league, a professional wheelchair football league here in the United States now. And I got to do one of the practices. Fascinating.
That is
It's
fascinating.
basically touch, but 7-on-7, everybody goes out for a pass and it's like, tackle, but you block.
Right.
The world for adaptive sports is, unfortunately, it's increasing because there are more adaptive athletes and there are younger athletes that are now disabled. But that also means there's more out there to get involved in.
Sure. Yeah. And again, if we can get everybody working together on this, instead of it just being you presenting with your limited, which is way larger than mine, but with your limited focus,
Seriously,
get everybody else in, and we all share back and forth. Of course, we got to ask you to subscribe. You're going to get the latest videos when they come out. But please comment, like it, comment, because we need to learn from you, and we're going to try to teach you, but we also want to learn back from you. So,
and I feel I still can learn. I think we all can still learn from our able-bodied counterparts. They might throw something out like, have you ever tried this? I can definitely learn from other medical professionals. Whether you're a prosthetist, rec therapist, physical therapist, physical medicine rehab doc. I've been disabled for 4 years. Some of these folks, you got 20 years experience. Share your information to us athletes. How can we get better? How can we learn? What more can we do? That's what it's all about.
Well, I think it's interesting because it doesn't matter, again, what your situation is, right? Able-bodied, it doesn't matter. I've been a trainer for 40 years, and you've been a PA for 20, and yet every day you go, wow, I never thought about it that way. When somebody mentions something, and you go, well, I've been doing that particular exercise for 1 million years. I never thought about shifting it. So it's very cool, and if we can all share, it's going to be a whole kumbaya party.
Bottom line is a disabled athlete, is a adaptive athlete, is a differently abled individual. Cardiovascular is important. It improves your life. It improves the quality of your life. Whether you're doing it.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're here for cardiovascular.
We got to wrap it up here. No, but whether you're doing it with your body, whether you're doing it with a simple piece of machinery, or something in the gym that you look at and go, I can't do that. Why not? Don't break the machine. Don't break yourself. Talk to the staff there. Talk to a trainer. YouTube it. Maybe somebody else has done it. You can figure out how to do it. You're adaptive athletes for a reason. You can adapt. Figure out how to do it and just keep moving and grooving. That's the bottom line.
Awesome. Outstanding. All right. Well, you guys have fun. We're exhausted. I'm getting a little giddy, so it must be time to move on. I forgot even what the topic was today. So awesome.
Fitness. Cardiovascular training for adaptive athletes.
Yes, that was awesome.
I appreciate it.
Boy, you're going to have to keep me in line.
Comment, share, subscribe. Let us know what you're thinking.
We want your input.
I'm not too old to learn, that's for sure.